This is Morrisman. As always, I thank you guys for coming to our talk show, Tell It Like It Is. I'm your host, Morrisman, and my co-host is.
Joseph Spencer.
And today we're going to do a special, kind of disturbing topic. I got a FedEx package from a friend of mine in Chicago, and he sent me the headlines for the Chicago Sun-Times paper today. And the headline reads, Outgunned. And it talks about the violence in Chicago over the 4th of July weekend, where 84 people within an 84-hour period, which is that person an hour, were shot, and 14 of those people passed away. And unfortunately, Chicago, because I haven't been in Chicago in a while, I've moved, and I love, my town. That's where I came from. That's where I was raised. But unfortunately, Chicago is beginning to get in a bad rap. And I'm going to say this, and then I'm turning it over to Joe. Whenever something like that happens in a big city, two people heads are on the platter. And in Chicago, it's the mayor and it's the police chief. And they kind of point fingers to say, well, this is your problem, or, you need to solve this. It's your fault, better lack of words. And to me, really, it's not their fault. They're responsible for trying to keep it under wraps. But it's unfortunate that you get a lot of people that have situations where they want to blame other people. And before I really kind of go into my thing, I'm going to tap over to Joe and get his opinion on, this headline and what do you think? Because you're from Chicago as well.
Yeah, well, the Klan and the Aryan boys don't have nothing on what the brothers are doing to themselves. Maybe our brothers out there with these guns don't know who the Klan and the Aryan boys are. Every time they turn on the news, they're celebrating because the brothers are blowing away themselves and their children. Civilized people, when they have a dispute with each other, they try to get some kind of dialogue together. And I'm beginning to find out that being a black man, there are certain people of all races are not civilized. So they have to be put under control.
If I can just chime in, I'm going to make this brief because there are a lot of things that most of us are not aware of. And I'm not trying to justify the actions of these young black men, but there is a system in place. And the system is to keep us ignorant, keep us breed, and keep us uneducated. And a lot of us don't realize that because I hear this sometimes. You can't blame the white man. And nobody's blaming the white man. I'm blaming the system as a whole. That there are a group of people in power that want to keep another group of people out of power. And that's how they do it by, not giving them or limited their ability to get educated, limited their ability to make good money. Because realistically, if you don't have a college degree in this day and time, you're going to be somewhere making minimum wage, and most likely you're going to have kids that you can barely take care of. So, there's a system that's set in place to keep certain things the way they are and make it worse. And again, I'm not making any excuses for these young black men. But there's another guy that's on YouTube channel, and I love his channel. I forgot his name. His first name is Tony something. And Tony talks about the things that we talk about, that the root issue is this. Because the surface issue is the guns and the guys running around shooting each other. The root issue is these young guys are a product of a mother that's 17 years older than them living on welfare. Daddy ain't in the picture. He's not an influence. He's probably in jail or dead. And that's the reason why these young black men are running around like cavemen, because they were not properly raised. I was watching a clip off the internet from Chicago in the news, and they had a rally. The name of the rally was Stop the Violence. The name of the rally should have been Stop the Baby Making when you're under 17 years old and still living in your mama's house, because that's the problem. But nobody wants to address that. They want to address it after it becomes a serious problem where these young guys are coming out and killing people. And until we change that, it's going to be more of this. This is not going to stop. It's going to continue and get worse. We can't be pointing the finger at the mayor or the police chief because they didn't cause this problem. They're trying to get this problem under control, but they're not the culprits. The culprits is ignorance of young black people having kids that they can't take care of, and these kids become a product of the streets. We got to stop it.
I don't care how many kids you have at 13 years old. There's an innate thing in people's souls that say, thou shalt not kill. I don't care how ignorant you are, when you become a predator in your own neighborhood, on your neighbors, on your friends, on your family, something's wrong with you.
Yeah, because we talk
You know?
about this all the time. We've had many conversations or shows based on the lack of the black family structure, and this just ties into it naturally because that's the problem.
Yeah, well,
And we are afraid to say, you know what, we need to get back, because we talked about this before as far as I'm a product of, I guess, the late 60s, 70s. My mother and father were married before I showed up, you know, and your mother and father were married before you showed up. Now it's quite fashionable that these young guys come from a product of my mama didn't marry my daddy, or my daddy didn't marry my mama, and me and my mama living with grandmama.
when I was young, there were people in the neighborhood that didn't have a mother and daddy household.
And that was very few. Yeah.
That's not exactly true.
Yes, it is. I mean, if you look at the statistics and the numbers, because it might seem like a lot to you when you were a teenager,
about
but
on 47th Street,
well,
1959, 1960s, there were households up and down the street.
and we talked about that. The Euro, I forgot the name of the project, but there was a system back then that got the men out the households. The men were initially there.
I know that.
They were forced out.
I know that.
But now,
And
let me just intervene right quick. But now these people never got married like it used to be, because what you're talking about was an era when people got married, men got pushed out the household.
On 47th Street, there was a lot of, and I was young. I knew they were just shacking.
Yeah.
You know.
But they were there.
Yeah,
I mean,
they were
there.
in and out, whatever.
Right.
You know.
But now,
like
they're not
it is
even
now,
there.
a lot of guys were straight out of World War II and the Korean War.
Yeah.
They were drinking, using drugs, same crap. But what I'm trying to say is that when the 5 Trey and Egyptian Cobra was around, they wasn't shooting people on the street. You know. The first drive-by I ever heard of, his name was Richard Ridley. He was 14. He just got blowed away on 47th Street. Mm-hmm. You know. Now these kids are playing like it's the old freaking West.
Yeah, well, they mentioned that in the news that it was like they were running around like cowboys.
Yeah.
Because
you know, when I was a kid, I played with pistols and plastic pistols, but I didn't want to shoot nobody. We use a stick or your hands.
Yeah.
But these kids are,
yeah,
well, they genociding our own people.
And that's
they're set in an area under their own lockdown.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's a good point, because here is the scenario, and it's a very realistic scenario. If the mayor of Chicago got together with police chief and they put together a plan to lock all these guys up, which a lot of people think is wonderful, but it's not. But if they could do that, guess what? Here comes the next graduating class of misfits. And they're going to be worse than the ones you just locked up. They're going to be more violent and more evil.
When you see a little 5-year-old baby with his pants down around his butt, and he's throwing up gang signs.
Exactly.
You know that crap is inherited.
Yeah, and you're not solving the problem by just locking people up. You got to solve the problem by stopping this growth of non-productive, violent individuals.
You have organizations and movies teaching young black men who believe this attitude, this lifestyle is a culture. Oppressing their own people in ghetto neighborhoods.
They don't know any better.
Living off their own people.
Yeah. Because, I mean,
you know,
I look at it.
Look at a kid, a black American kid, and he don't even know who the Klan is or Dr. Martin Luther King. They don't know who basketball. They know about going around shooting somebody and initiating people and mistreating women and using dope.
But here's the problem. And some of these people in this scenario, they rise up for the occasion, become very productive, but the percentage is very low. Let me just say this.
Yeah.
I was, again, a product of a mother and a father who loved each other, and they raised us, and my daddy was in the household. It's very unlikely and unrealistic if you just take me, for example, that my circumstances were different, that my mother got pregnant at 16 years old because she was screwing some guy down the street when her mother was not at home. She had me, never got married, went on welfare. I wouldn't be the person that I am today. I'm quite sure that I wouldn't be. And that's the problem that we have today, that these young black men are brought into a system or born into a system that they didn't sign up for. And it's hard for them to get out of that because it's kind of hard to swim out of a sea when you don't have the necessary tools to keep from getting drowned.
Kids are ignorant about guns. If you haven't seen somebody get shot, you don't know the mess it does make. In some movies you see a guy get shot, and next movie or in the same movie he be walking around.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, movies are a fantasy world.
It's a fantasy world.
They're not based on reality, and a lot of people really take it seriously when they see these people. I can go out there with a gun and shoot 20 people and I don't get shot. Like in the movies, the good guy never get killed.
And I know these kids, they got a lot of peer pressure and stuff. I remember when I was a kid, oh, Joe ain't gonna do it. He's a punk. Them people are dead.
Yeah.
Well, this don't make no sense. It's gonna make me a punk because I'm not gonna do this.
Well, like you mentioned earlier that, and I agree with you as far as the censorship, because I say it all the time. People think I'm crazy when I make this statement in the United States that we, to an extent, have too many freedoms.
Too many freedoms.
Because we got people
that can't handle it.
We got people that abuse it. People think that freedom of speech is to go out and insult anybody else verbally, and that's your right. It's not your right.
It's not your right.
But because it's propaganda in this country, like it is in other countries, where we want to make it look in the eyes of our citizens that we have the best social setup in this world. And that's debatable, because people talk about how I wouldn't want to be in Russia because the government, make you work for them and other things that, you're not allowed to do. Because I had somebody from YouTube wanting to, I was going to send them something. They said, well, I live in, I think it was Syria. They said, we can't buy anything outside our country.
Hey.
But the point I'm making is that I've looked at some of the Russian culture, and I'm like, those people don't seem to be unhappy.
Don't be unhappy.
Because here's the problem.
Don't be Jewish.
Yeah. Here's the problem in this country. There's one extreme to another, meaning that you got one guy that got so much money that he recklessly ended up killing himself as a result of the excess of money he has access to. Then you got another guy in another part of town living in the Vida. He don't have any money. It's still a balance, because when you create a balance, it eliminates or reduces significantly crime. Because the only reason why people, for the most part, commit crimes is lack of money.
Well, they'll say that sounds like communism. This sounds like communism.
Well, it's the truth. Whatever you want to describe it as, it's reality. The majority of people that commit crimes commit it because they have lack of money and resources. You give those same people jobs, they go to work.
They go to work, right. And there are some people who live out in the alley who ain't got nothing and ain't going to do nothing to nobody to benefit themselves.
Right, and let's not get those people confused with the people that would work if they were given an opportunity, because I hear that statement a lot when I make that statement, and we definitely want to be clear on that we're not talking about the lazy folks that have opportunity, just don't want to do nothing. We're talking about the people that have nothing and would do something if they had something.
You can't take a little...
I got our production assistant. We're running over our time.
I'm
going to give my closing remarks, and then I'm going to give it to Joe and give his closing remarks. Until we do what we need to do, this continues. And what we need to do is create programs and incentives and educate young folks to say, you don't have a dime in your pocket at this stage in your life. Your mother and you are living with grandmother. So it's not a good idea to be bringing babies into this world that you can't take care of. And 17 years later, they got their pants sagging and they're out there shooting people. Until we look at trying to curve that, this will never stop, because that's the problem. It ain't that we got too many guns on the street and not enough police officers. The problem is we got 17-year-old people having babies, and those babies grow up to be a menace to society. So until we look at that and try to deal with that issue, you can do all the protesting in the world as far as stop the killing all day long. That ain't nothing going to change. We have to change our structure, our social structure. And until we do that and be balls enough to think about that, because nobody wants to discuss that. They want to deal with the problem once these people become 17 years old and they're out there shooting people, and they think that the solution is putting them in jail. No. The prisons are full of people that shouldn't be there, and the prison is a burden system on the system, because the money that you would pay to incarcerate an individual is the same money you can literally send that person to college. So who would you want walking the streets? A college-educated guy, the productive, or a guy that just got out the joint, that's about to commit another crime, go back to the joint. So on that note, I'm going to close off and turn it over to Joe.
Well, a lot of kids I know, they say college ain't worth nothing. They always know somebody who's been to college and can't get no job. That's the way it is.
But those
You know,
people that
but
can't
you-
get
but-
jobs do not go out and kill people.
Right. But if you got a college education, the way things are now, you'll get the job at Burger King before somebody who didn't get out of high school or grammar school or kindergarten. And another thing to you brothers, stop doing the Klan's work. Because that's what you doing. You doing the Klan's work. You might as well be hanging your brothers and sisters' strange fruit in the trees. Y'all be blessed, man.
Okay, until next time, as always, keep thinking.
Yeah, bye.